Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, we will learn about dependency injection in Compose Multiplatform. So why do we need actually dependency injection? So this is the app. Actually, I will be coming to that point. Why do we need that? So this is an app we built in some of the previous videos. You can check out those videos. So first of all, you can check out how to create Compose Multiplatform app, and then you can check out the navigation in Compose Multiplatform app. So it's a combination of those. So if you see, we are directly creating the objects inside the classes, right? So that is not the recommended way, because while we doing unit testing, we face difficulties there to testing these classes, right? So that's why dependency injection is recommended. So for dependency injection in the Compose multi-platform, we will be using the Koin library. So Koin is pretty easy to use. Why it is easy to use? Because there is no annotations in the dependency. We don't need any kind of annotations. This is directly based on the DSL, Kotlin DSL, right? Domain specific language. So we can declare all the classes and require dependencies, and we can directly pick them using the some methods, not by some annotations, right? So let's continue with that. First step is we need to add, right? So let's go to the setup of this. So this is the Gradle setup. If you see, we can just copy it and right, and we can use the latest version. If you see here, Koin core, it's 3.5.3. Okay, and one more thing, for the Android, actually few things which we needed to pass from the Android, so we will be using the Android specific part there, right? And this is not the core, this is Koin Android, right? Because for Android logger or all other things, so we will be passing them from the Android side itself, right? Let's sync it. So it is done, and now let's do some other record changes. So first of all, let's create a di directory here, and then let's add a Kotlin class Koin, right? And in this class, so we will be creating one function init Koin, right? Additional modules, so it will be a list of modules. We can pass an empty list here. I will explain about all these parameters, why we require them. App declaration, and also we can give it empty declaration here, and that's it. And let's call the start Koin function. So this start Koin method is the main entry point actually. So it will be creating a Koin application as a standalone. So it will be starting that, right, and creating the Koin container, right? So that is the main part where we can use the all the modules and all other things. We can define them here. So start Koin method will be used for that. So first of all, here we will add app declarations, and then we can add modules and additional modules, right? And so these additional modules are nothing but some modules we will be accepting from the in this parameter from the native sites, right? I'll be coming to that while we will be using them. And also we can create common module class as well. Again, it will be a simple method, and it will be again a module, because so basically module DSL here we define all the dependencies. So suppose we need to add two or three dependencies here, we need to define modules and then need to add those modules, declare those modules inside the start coin method, right? So here we will be using the like common ones, like the repository home view model, which are common to all, right? We'll be declaring them here. So we'll be coming to that point, common module. And what else we can use is platform module. These are platform specific modules, right? So additional modules which I was talking about, they are different from them. They are like some modules which we require before some these common modules, right? Suppose we are using the decompose, for that we require app component context, right? So that we can pass from the native sites. These are those additional modules, right? You can assume of them pre-required modules for this, right? So we can create platform modules as well, similar to this. But currently we don't have any platform modules, right? So we can leave it as it is. But for some expect actual class declarations are there, we can define them platform specific, right? And now let's come to the common module, right? Suppose let's first of all move to the home repository, right? Here what dependency we are using, HTTP client, right? So what we can do is, best way of dependency injection is private well HTTP client, right? We will be using it from the constructor, right? And now, so if you go and see this HTTP client, right, this is the global, this, right? So we can move this declaration inside the network module. We need to create one more module, that is the network module, right? All the networking part, we can define all the dependencies related to networking here, right? And this one we need before common module. We can add it here because let's say inside here we need home repository, right, in the common module. So before that we need HTTP client, right? So that's why we can add them before this module, right? So this is done and this one is done. And now let's go back to here again. It requires home view module requires home repository, right? So what we'll be doing is we'll picking it up and adding in the constructor, right? And this is also done. Okay, and now we can define them inside the common module, right? So how we can define them? So actually there are two ways, single and factory. So single is this singleton instance. It will remember the instance and every time Koin will provide the same instance whenever it is requested, right? Factory instance is every time Koin will provide the new instance of that class, right? So here we don't need factory, we will be creating the singleton, right? So now suppose we are defining this home repository here, right? So it will automatically reduce type. So we don't need to specify that type here then, right? So it will detect that inferred from the type of the class object, right? And here it requires now HTTP client. How we'll be getting that? We can directly use the get method, right? So get method, then it will pick up depending upon this type. It will find out like where it is defined. So what it will do is then it will find out, yeah, in this module it has defined this. So it will be picking up that and using that here, right? And now similar to this home view model, and inside this we require home repository, right? So again for that we will be calling the get. Inside this module we can directly call the get for getting any dependency which is defined before this, right? So this is the common module. And one more thing we can define, I will come to this. So if you see default root component, right, so it requires component context and home view model, two dependencies, right? So component context it requires, right? So this component context we will be passing from the native side actually, right? But let's first define it here as a dependency, right? We will be calling get here and we'll be adding it, passing it from in the additional modules. If you see from these additional modules that will be added there, we will be adding it from the platform specific sites, right? And second one is home view model, that is also use the get, right? This one is defined. And now let's move on to the, so basically we have mostly these three classes, right, which require some dependencies, right? This one, home view model, home repository, right? So these require some dependencies, right? So now this is done, and let's move on to the Android initialization. We'll be initializing it from the Android, and for that we need to add one application class we can create, and we can initialize it from the application class, that is the recommended, right? Override on create, and here we will be calling the init Koin. I'll be coming back to here, but first of all let's add this. So we can specify this main application here, yeah, like this, right? And here in the init Koin, what we'll be doing is we will be providing the Android context, right, and Android logger. So this will be used by the coins for the coin activity, so it requires some kind of logger. So for Android we'll be providing the default Android logger, right? And this is Android context. If we require somewhere, so we can use this, right? And second thing is, now let's come to the main activity. So basically what's happening is, because default component context will be available in the main activity actually, not in the application class. And for this default component, if you see, if you go here in the common module and this, so it requires component context, right? And this component context, how you'll be passing it from the Android side, if you see here default component context, and it is directly available only in the activity. So here what we'll be doing is we'll be creating some modules here, and we'll be defining this single default component context, right? And these modules, so what we'll be doing is, so inside this init we can call the load Koin modules, right? Why we are calling this, I will explain it, wait a minute, we can pass it. So basically what happens is, suppose here we are initializing some dependency, right? So what will happen is, here we have already initialized the coin. We can't do it, like we can't call the that start coin method multiple times, right? That's why what we can do is, if application coin is already initialized and then also we want to load some module, so we can use this method there, right? So this is it. And now what we need to do is, let's remove this, and this default root component is also being provided from the common module. So what we will be doing is, we can directly define that root component here by the inject. Inject method can also be used. If you see, inject is lazily, it injects dependencies lazily, right? And get is eagerly, right? So it is the lazy one and it is the eager one. So we can use inject as well for defining dependencies. We can use this while declaring dependencies. Then we can use the by delegation. But if we need inside the some classes or elsewhere, so we can directly call get as well, right? So here we can pass root component, right? So now you can see it. This part is done, and if we try to run this app, it should work successfully. Something is wrong. Let me check what happened. Okay, what it's saying is no more definition for. So what's happening is we have not passed the type here. So in case of interfaces, the confusion happens. So it does not recognize this root component. So it was detecting type as default root component, but not the root component, right? If we specify here, it will override and it will use this one, right? Now let's check it again. Home repository. Could not create instance for home repository. Okay, why it's saying that? HTTP client. I think there also we need to specify. If you go inside the network module, oh, we didn't define the simple dependency. My bad. Yeah, that should work. Okay, cool. If you see, everything is working fine. Now for the Android part, dependency injection is done. Now let's move on to the iOS side, maybe, right? Fine. So for the iOS side, what we need to do is, let's first of all go to the iOS main, and here create a let's first of all create a directory here for di. Actually we'll be creating some wrapper method, dependency injection, and init Koin iOS, right? And here we will be calling the that init Koin method, right? And here additional modules will be passing the iOS. So we'll be creating the iOS module here, and we'll be passing that list. So here what we need to define is just the two things: lifecycle registry and then again the component context. Why we are defining this? Because default component context requires them, right? If you see, it requires lifecycle. For the Android side, we didn't need to do that because we use the default component context directly from the main activity, right? Here we can call get method directly. Can specify the type here, right? So this is the lifecycle registry is done, and now let's say here I think we don't need to do anything. Yeah, it's fine, I think, right? We'll be calling in the Android side this method, right? One more thing we need to define is, so basically in the this module we can directly call the get, but if we need to call that outside these modules, right? So Koin will not know about this method because this is defined in the scope of these methods, right? Module declaration. So basically what we need is we need Koin instance for getting the dependencies. So here we will be creating the two extension functions, and its get will be the Koin's get method, right? so that we can get this directly inside the iOS. So we have defined the extension. We will be creating the Koin instance in the iOS side, and then we can get this component directly from the Koin, right? And when this get will be called, it will directly provide us this root component which we have defined in the common, right? If you see, so this root component, right? You can provide that. So let's go back there. Yeah, so this is it. And one more, similarly we can provide extension for what we need is lifecycle registry. iOS side we need right. So now what we need to do is, now we need to go in the iOS, we need to open the iOS app. So to iOS app, and we need to open that iOS app here, right? And then we need to add one class here, and we can name it Koin.swift. And what we are doing here is we can import Compose app, and we can define the so for the starting coin and getting the instance of coin, we can define those things here in this class. So that's why we are creating this separate class, right? So that logic will be inside single class. So let's okay, that class is not yet available. Let's build it once. Maybe we can run the iOS app once. It will build those dependencies and they will be available in the iOS side, right? It will be showing some errors. Let's try that here once. So so first of all we need to call this, and then what we can do is we can use some backing fields here as we used to do in Android side if you are an Android developer. And Koin core instance, that type is available as this, like this here, Koin instance. We can create this private, and then this global public one, and that we can get return underscore coin, right? And we can set that private one from here, right? So this is it, and this should not be nullable, right? So now this step is done. Now let's try to once run the app again. Okay, so it's saying add an initializer, but what we can do is we can assign it nullable value till that time if it requires this value, so that it can provide the nil, right? Okay, now some errors are there because we have applied the dependency injection logic, so I'll be coming to this. Okay, no worries. So now let's come to this, and we can use that coin instance. First of all, we need to so actually one method is there. Yeah, did finish launching with these options. Inside this method, when application finish launching, right? So when it will be launching, so what we need to do here is we need to start coin. We need to call that method, this one. It will be starting the coin right from here. It is similar to the, for the Android we are doing it from the main application. Similarly we are doing it from the app delegate, right? And let's return true here. We need to return, and then what we need to do is we can, so we can, this declaration we can remove it, make it nullable, and then define the nil. And why we are doing this, because now before we are creating the object of this class, we need to start coin, because inside this we will be using the coin instance. That's why we need to start coin before this, right? And here we will be creating that object, and similarly we can create one function for getting this root holder, because now this will not be available directly. It will be available, but it will be throwing error because it's nil level. So if it's not initialized, it will find it nil, so it will show some error there. So we can define some method there, and its return type will be the root holder, and we can simply check if root holder is equal to nil. Yeah, most of the time we do programming in Kotlin, so that's why we used to using the null, but in this Swift it is nil. Okay, and if it is nil, then what we need to do is let's create it, otherwise return it, right? It is nullable type, right? It can accept nil, so we need to make sure it is not nil here, right? And let's make it var, and we are good to go. Let's change that method here. We can call this here, and now what we need to do is, yeah, this part. So now this part, what we need to do is this lifecycle registry we'll be getting from where? From the Koin. Lifecycle registry, right? And similar to that, even we don't need to use this, because we can directly use this, so it will be automatically, while using this it will be using them automatically, because these things we have defined in the iOS main in the Kotlin side, right? So here we can directly coin dot root component. This is that extension function which we defined. If you see, this extension function is that. So what it will do is, whenever this get method will be called, and it will get it these dependencies, right? It will get those dependencies from the coin and provide the instance, right? We can remove these, they don't need them anymore, right? This is the root, and this is the life cycle. Only these two dependencies we need here, right? Life cycle and root. Okay, fine. And now what we need to do is, I think we are good to go. Let's try to run the iOS app. Yeah, hopefully it's working fine. Yeah, good, it's working now. Cool. So now it's done for iOS side as well. Let's move on to the website. So for website, basically, again we need to go to this JS main, and let's create di part there, and again then let's name it Koin.js. Okay, function start Koin. It will be again calling the init Koin, and similarly we are defining the JS module here, and similar to that iOS stuff, we need to use this. If you see, because these are required for default for root component, right? So we can define them here, right? If you are wondering why are defining them, if they are common, why are defining them inside platform specific, because this way we have the option of later on if we want to provide some component context related things or like some lifecycle related changes, so then it becomes easier to use the platform specific things there, right? And that's why we are calling them from the platform specific code, right? And additional module is again the list of JS module, right? And here we don't need to call anything else, right? And now what we need to do is we need to define that coin instance before this main method, right? So we'll be calling the start coin dot coin. So this will be returning the coin application, and then from that we can get the coin instance, and then this coin instance we can use to get the dependencies, right? Now again let's remove all this code. If you see this and we can use root component here, right? Yeah, I think we are good to go. Now let's try to run the web app. Cool, it's working fine, right? Okay, cool, it's working. It's fine for working fine for web as well. Now what is left is even we can copy this similar code and similar things we can add there in the desktop, right? First of all, let's add the di and then copy that class JS module. It should be JVM, Koin JVM, right? And start Koin, and let's give it some start Koin JS, right? Let's refactor it. That looks good. Platform specific code is there, right? And similarly JVM, right? And we can rename it JVM, and we can use their JVM here. We can import the component context, and we are good to go. Now let's go to here again on the top. Before using the main, we need to create the coin instance, and let's call start coin jvm dot coin, and then again let's remove these dependencies. Component, passing that here, and that's it. Let's run it. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay, cool. So this is about the dependency injection. Now if you see, all the 4 apps are working fine with the dependency injection. We don't have any dependencies which are not being injected now. Everything we are using the using the coin. So this is all about the coin. I hope you guys have now an idea how we can do the dependency injection in Compose Multiplatform using coin. So if you like the video, you can please like, share and comment on it. And if you are new subscriber, one humble request, please subscribe it. It will motivate me to create more videos. So I will see you in the upcoming video. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding.